This is Isabella Penteric with Solid Stitch Embroidery.
Mark Vasilantone with Vastex International.
This is Dave Pomeroy with NBM National Business Media.
Greg Brown with All We Do.
And you are listening to the Two Regular Guys
Podcast.
hosted by Terry Combs
And Aaron Montgomery.
All right. Welcome to the show. It is Friday, April 17th, 2020. I am Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. Today, we'll be turning the mics over to Kristine Shreve, and she's all in, ready to go. So we're good to go. No guest hosting by me today. So that's good.
All guests are accounted for. Everybody mic checked. It's almost frightening. We were 5 minutes early.
I know. This is definitely the gods are shining upon us today. So good
Exactly.
stuff. So yeah, Kristine and her group of wonderful people here, and we'll introduce them all in just a second. Going to be talking about selling in a time of crisis. So really, it's obviously timely, and obviously excited to learn about this. And so I've got my not yellow legal notepad, but I do have my notebook ready to go. So
Close enough.
How about you, Terry? You ready to go over there? As usual.
Plus, I also have the blank books and Terry's big book of non-travel.
Indeed. So let's see who's checking in here. Eric is checking in the comments here this morning, so appreciate that. And Kim and Cindy and Carolyn and Chris, and we've got Alan checking in, and Sheila and Jane. Man, we could go on and on and on. So let's see here.
Awesome.
Todd, man, a great group in there. So regulators showing up in force. So we appreciate that. And all right, Terry. Well, let's see here. Joe, Rich, Linda. Okay. I think I may have missed some people, but so apologize if I missed you, but thanks for checking in with us this morning, and looking forward to
have Eric running the board. That's the
yeah, exactly. He is in the comments though. So as usual, always helping out. So, all right, Terry, well, let's talk a little news here real quick before we get into our guests. And so the news for me is tonight is the party, Terry.
Yeah,
are you,
absolutely.
hey, did you get invited to that party, by the way?
I did get invited to the party.
And don't tell anybody. No, actually do tell people. Sorry about that. So yeah, tonight is a virtual cocktail party that we're going to be hosting. So if you go to our website, the number 2 regular guys /party, then you can sign up to be there. It's going to be a Zoom party, and there's a limit of 100 people. So when I checked last night, there were 86 people signed up, plus all the people from last week. So technically we're over 100. So we'll see. So get there early.
If you can't get in, you just wait behind the velvet rope. And
that's right.
If somebody goes out, you can come in.
Yeah, exactly. So as people go out, you'll be able to come in. That's happening at 7 o'clock Central Time. So that'd be 5 o'clock on the West Coast and 8 o'clock on the East Coast. And everybody else in between figured out, Well,
I know that I'm bringing appetizers from cold beers and cheeseburgers, so everybody should reach out to somebody local and bring your appetizers from some local establishment to help them keep their doors open. So that's what we're going to be doing here.
Awesome. Yeah, good stuff. So again, tworegularguys.com/party, and check that out. It's being supported by the good folks over at DAX. And in fact, DAX has their virtual trade show happening right now. So go to daxshow.com and check that out. And
Aaron. Speaking of the DAX show, the DAX seminars are now available online. I know I've done mine, and some of the other folks, some of the other speakers have already recorded theirs. But hey, nobody knows when this COVID-19 outbreak is going to subside, and when life goes back to normal, and hopefully sooner than later, we're all need to be ready to get to work. So to help make use of your time during these days, we've made arrangements for this year's DAX seminars to be offered so you can gain the skills and knowledge you need to be ready to serve your customers in the months ahead. Anybody can register to attend our online seminars. And these are, Aaron, the seminars that all of us were going to be presenting live. So and as per usual, when I did mine on Wednesday, I got halfway through my slide deck. I did already have some people say, "Hey, can you send me the rest of those slides?" So, I always blamed the people listening. The people in the audience for asking questions. I didn't have a single person there but me, and I still didn't get through the slides. But so like our shows, I'm going to break it into two. But
yeah, exactly.
But anybody can register, regardless of whether you were planning to go to the DAX shows or not. You can read the full press release, and we'll get it up on the screen. Screen Printing Magazine Online has a full press release on that subject.
Excellent. Yeah. So check that out. And so Terry did his. Let's see who else. Dane has done his. Yeah. Clay did his yesterday. So the cool part for me is I get to produce these things, and man, I learned a ton of stuff, even from you, Terry. I've heard your seminar before, and I still learned something. So
very good.
Yeah. All right.
I love talking about screen printing. I did have somebody say to me, "Man, you use your hands a lot." When I get excited, man, the hands are going.
Hands are going. I love it.
And I have no Italian blood in me. So,
all right. Well, Cindy says she's looking forward to today's show, and awesome. Alan will be doing his this week, and next week, I guess, would be the case, as it is Friday. Josh Ellsworth checking in. Josh, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you stopping by this morning. Happy Friday to you as well, sir. Todd says he is dropping off certs to our local Mexican restaurant and bringing home food and drink. So there we go.
Awesome. Fantastic, Todd.
Sarah checking in there. Okay. So get that off the screen. One last bit of news, and then oh, wow. You did get it. Make it happen. I love you. Love it, Terry. I was looking at the outline going, we can figure this out. But we got it. You came through. I appreciate that. All right. So one more news, and then we've got the weekly dad joke, and Terry's bringing that to us. So appreciate that. Impressions Magazine is a great resource for COVID-19 updates. They have daily updates from suppliers and decorators on how they're handling the worldwide crisis. If you go over to impressionsmagazine.com, and in there, they also have a list of resources to help support your business. As new additional programs emerge, they will continue to update that page. So please go ahead and check that out, and let the folks at Impressions know you appreciate them looking out for us, and tell them the two regular guys sent you. But Terry, it is now Kristine's favorite part of the show, dad joke time.
And I have one. I've made a note in there, said, "Wasn't I supposed to do next week?" And you panicked, and
you're right.
I've got one, man. Here it is. Are you ready for the dad joke?
I'm ready.
What does the Secret Service yell now instead of "Get down, Mr. President"?
I don't know. What do they yell?
They yell "Donald Duck."
Very
That's
good.
A dad joke, man.
That is a dad joke. I love it. That's a very good one. All right. Excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
Hey, before we dive in, we want to thank everyone for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. If you are listening to the podcast version, we would appreciate you sharing with your friends so they can become regulators too. People who listen to our show are regulators. Plus, we would love and appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to the show. And we are always looking for new guests. If you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2. That's the number 2 regular guys, and give us your show ideas. If you are watching us live right now, join in with your comments and questions. Reach out to your industry friends and make sure that they join us today too.
All right. And if I can get this figured out, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Impressions Expo. What is Impressions Expo? Impressions Expo, formerly known as ISS, is the premier trade show dedicated to the imprinted and decorated apparel industry. They have 5 shows that are produced annually in each region of the United States, including Long Beach, California, Atlantic City, New Jersey, Orlando, Florida, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and cap off the year at Fort Worth, Texas. Each of those 5 annual shows also feature over 30 seminars and hands-on workshops in categories such as screen printing, embroidery, digitizing, digital decorating, and much, much more. Visit impressionsexpo.com for more details, and while there, use the promo code Regular Guys IE for a free Expo pass. Again, make sure you visit impressionsexpo.com to get more details. And the 2 regular guys look forward to seeing you there. All right. Well, thanks again to Impressions Expo for their support of our program, and make sure that you're supporting them and get over there to their page and click on the links and go to the advertisers and all that stuff. So that's how we support each other by doing those things. And so Terry, are you ready?
I'm ready to turn over my microphone.
Hand it over. We're okay. I'm going to unplug now. All right. Well, Terry, I'm going to have you duck out so we have room to bring everybody on here.
All right.
And
Bye, everyone.
So talk to you next week, Terry.
All right. Very good.
All right. So let me first bring in our host today. Kristine Shreve can be found at KristineShreve.com, where she talks all things marketing, social media, and business. You can also find her at readingandranting.com, where the discussion concerns reading, writing, and things of literary persuasions, and at When I'm Thin. When I'm Thin. Okay, cool. This is all new stuff for me, so I appreciate it. This is really cool. I can't wait to go check it all out. When I'm Thin, where the topics include health, fitness, exercise, nutrition, and body image. Kristine is the founder of the Women in Garment Decorating Facebook group. Yeah, and the brainchild behind this awesome opportunity here on our show. And so the Facebook group is a place of community and education for female garment decorators. She's a writer for Printwear Magazine and Engravers Journal. Kristine is also a speaker at the Decorated Apparel trade shows, and she is also soon to be the host of 2 new podcasts, Reading and Ranting and Business Plus Women. I'm really excited about all of that stuff, Kristine.
Well, apparently I don't lack ambition. I feel like I should do a lot of stuff, I guess. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Or I think people will be interested in what I have to say. I don't know, but
I think people will. I'm really excited, and like you said, yes, plenty of ambition, plenty going on there. And fact, I got your email. I owe you a return email here soon.
Not a problem.
All right. Well, let's bring in the rest of the guests here, Kristine. Unless there was anything you wanted to share before we jump here.
Well, I'm just laughing. I just saw Carolyn made a comment about lipstick. She has, the theory about the red lipstick. That you can't see anybody on video. I don't wear lipstick, so
neither do I. So we're good.
So I guess nobody can see us, but it's all right.
Yes. Oh, and Todd made sure that
Todd says I'm Wonder Woman, which I absolutely love, and at some point. Well, no, I don't think I'll ever wear the costume, but maybe I'll get the bracelets or something.
There you go. We'll at least add it onto the bio. So.
I guess so. Definitely. And I'm popularly known as Wonder Woman, I guess.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, let's bring Allie in here first.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change the view so we can everybody get to come hang out.
There's
So
Allie.
Welcome in, Allie. Allie Banholzer began Wear Your Spirit Warehouse, WYSH, in 2004, literally at her kitchen table. She was a mom of 2 beautiful baby girls and a proud military wife to her husband, David. In 2010, the business outgrew the house and moved to commercial space. Allie continued to support her young family and hold down the home front while David traveled and did all things that being an Air Force officer entailed. Early in 2014, David became the 14th presidential pilot of the United States and the commander of Air Force One, fulfilling a lifelong dream. Sadly, this dream was cut short in May of 2014 when David was diagnosed with terminal cancer. At that time, Allie closed down her commercial storefront and moved WYSW back to the house so she could care for David and her girls. With the help of incredible friends and employees, Allie was able to continue to run the business while caring for her husband. David passed away in November of 2016. Allie took a bit of time to care for her girls, grieve, and plan. In April of 2017, she moved WYSW back out of the small commercial location in Huntingtown. Is that correct, Allie?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
in Huntingtown, with the amazing support of friends, employees, and the local community, Allie was able to grow WYSW into the international company it is today and in their new, larger location. So welcome to the show, Allie.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're gonna keep moving so I can get out of the way and let you guys get to it here. Tanya and her husband Jay started out as a part-time garage-based business in 2004. In 2015, they took the leap to a brick and mortar storefront in downtown Fairmont, Minnesota, and then in 2017 purchased a second location in St. Peters, Minnesota. Jay has handled the business side of the business while Tanya is a graphic designer. The Visual Identity Vault is the home to screen print, embroidery, heat transfer vinyl, and sublimation, as well as signed banners and promotional products and gifts, as well as laser cutting and engraving. They do it all. We can just say you do it all, Tanya. Tanya is a member of BNI and a member of several online groups and finds that helping others in the industry has become something that she deeply enjoys. So welcome in, Tanya.
Thank you. And Aaron, you didn't try the last name.
Oh, here, I wrote down Doyscher. Tanya Doyscher. I got it.
I had to do that.
I appreciate it. Yep. Keep me honest. I like it. All right. And then Jillian Haney is the owner of Jillian Inc. Screen Printing. She is self-taught in screen printing, has been in business since 2015. She graduated from the University of Nebraska, Omaha with an MBA. Her business serves other small businesses, sports moms, and boutique owners. Outside of printing, she has a passion for fitness and spending time with her husband and 2-year-old. So welcome in, Jillian.
Thank you.
Yay.
Awesome. Okay. Well,
The gang's all here.
the gang's all here. I'm going to bail out of here, and I am excited to turn this over to you, Kristine. So
Okay, Aaron, you just pop back in when you need it back.
Yeah, and you guys go.
Do we get bonus time?
There's always bonus time on Two Radio Guys, Kristine.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have fun, and I'm super excited. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you. First of all, ladies, thank you so much for being here. I know this is kind of an interesting thing to do for some people, but it's going to be so fun. We're going to have a good time. And one of the first things I'm going to do to you is one of the things I told you I was going to do, which is start the questions out of order, because that's fun. Because I think it's the question that kind of underpins everything else that we're talking about, I want to talk about what our culture tells us about what women are supposed to do when there's a crisis. Because I think that kind of underpins a lot of what we think about how we should behave and what other people think. So I just want to start with what occurred to me when I thought about this question, which was I went back to Florence Nightingale and her nurses when she went to Crimea back in the Crimean War, which was back in, God, don't quote me on this, somewhere in the 1800s, I think. And they were all volunteers. They didn't get paid. They were considered angels of mercy that were putting themselves in this really kind of awful situation and dangerous situation. But, there's the image of her as the lady with the lamp comforting the soldiers that were hurt. And there was no kind of recognition that, she was doing a job, that they were taking a risk. It was all kind of, it was the nice ladies who came and made everybody feel better and were selfless and giving. And that's a great image, but I think it's also an image that kind of puts women in a box a little bit, as, we're supposed to be self-sacrificing all the time, and we're never supposed to think about, we have businesses and we need to make a living and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm coming from that, but I'm wondering what the rest of you think. So Allie, since you're next to me on the screen, I'm going to start with you. What do you think?
All right. Well, I kind of went back even further than you.
Okay.
To caveman days, and whose roles were hunting and whose were gathering and nurturing and tending to the kids. And I think there's still, of course we're talking generalities today, so I'd never, say this is specific to everybody, but, I do think there's an expectation that women are the nurturers, and we pause for a minute and, we're looking where we can gather and where we can, get the best for our families and do that nurturing. And generally men are out there, fast reaction, hunting, killing, going on to the next hunting, killing, going on to the next thing. So, I do think that that's kind of in our DNA and the expectations. And, my role in particular, I'm a widow. I have 2 kids to take care of. And I cross both of those roles. I've got to, I want to volunteer. I want to nurture. I want to donate, but I also have to provide for my family. So
right. I totally
think
get that.
I do think still as a society, thousands of years later, women are still considered the nurturers and the caretakers.
Which, I mean, and I think you made a really good point that I want to make sure that we make clear. We're not saying that guys don't want to take care of their families or that they're not willing to volunteer and do. We're not saying
Absolutely.
that. It's just culturally, it's the expectation has, like Allie said, men have been more action man and women have been more the nurturers and the ones who take care of the family and the ones who are kind of expected to be a little more self-sacrificing. Another thing, I mean, I don't have children, but another thing is also the image of the mother who will sacrifice anything for her children kind of thing. So Tanya, what do you think about that?
For me, I have this overwhelming need to make sure that everyone is taken care of.
I have that too.
From my husband, especially this year, since we've been dealing with the health crisis since January 4th, to the stores, because I'm taking over some of what he's done. And there's some days that he just doesn't feel physically able to work, to making sure our employees are taken care of, as well as our community. So it's a hard balance, and I've had to learn really quick. And I post in the group a lot that I need to take care of myself more because I ended up in the ER. So yeah, I think as a whole, women are expected, or they put it on themselves quite a bit, that they need to make sure that everything is taken care of to the point that they don't take care of themselves.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And Carolyn, I'm just reading the comments here, and Carolyn made a nice comment about men have the fear of coming back empty-handed. So there's a little judgment for them too.
Right.
But I wanted to ask, because I know, Jillian, you have a little kid.
Yeah, a 2-year-old.
2 or something.
Yeah.
So does that change things a little bit when they're younger rather than older? Because I know, Allie, your kids are teenagers, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we pulled her out of daycare a few weeks ago, and I've been taking care of her all day while my husband works in the basement. So it's been me taking care of her, and then about 4:00 he gets off work, and then I'm trying to get all of my work done for my business. I'm pretty much burnt out by that point. So,
yeah,
I'm kind of just, in order to take care of our family and what we need, he has the steady income. Mine's up and down. Just doing what we have to do and doing what I have to do, whether it burns me out or not. You just got to get it done.
Yeah. But it's just, I'm finding it really interesting that, I'm seeing a lot of women, I've seen it a lot in the group, which is what prompted this discussion in the first place, where a lot of women are saying, I don't know whether to sell. I don't know how much I should sell for. Should I just sell for my cost and then just kind of take a loss on it? Or, and what struck me about that so much is you don't, or at least I haven't seen, and maybe there's groups where men go and they talk about this stuff and they say, do you think I should? But I don't see that as much. And I think part of that is cultural. But I did want to ask, do you think that as a general rule, women are more worried about selling in general? And Jillian's nodding. So
Yes.
What do you think, Jillian?
I don't think it's even a discussion for men. I think that they put their products out there. They get it taken care of. I mean, we're sewing. I don't see a lot of men sewing. I know my brother-in-law uses his embroidery machine to make these masks, but they put those out there for a profit. I don't think they sit and think like, should I not? And I think people approached women to donate things a lot quicker than they're going to approach a man, and a man that's a business.
Well, that definitely makes sense. And Allie just said she can't hear Jillian. I can hear Jillian. So
It might be-
hopefully
okay.
me.
it could be you. Okay. Well, unless we'll have Erin look into that. And as long as I think she's going out to the podcast, we should be, I can always relay questions, but I think you're totally right that men don't necessarily tend to think about it as much. They just kind of go, okay, I need to do it. And it's kind of, and I think women maybe overthink it too much because we're looking at all the angles of what this means and what it doesn't. And excuse me, I just saw a comment that says she's loud and clear in the stream, so it must just be you, Allie, that isn't able to hear her right now. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I apologize if I repeat something she says.
Oh, that's fine. We can make that work. It's not, this is a minor technical difficulty. We've had major ones before, so this is better. But basically the point she was making is guys just put their products out there and they just go. And women, I think, sometimes overthink it. And I don't know, I guess that's a question. Why do we overthink it? And I kind of like that question a little bit. Why do we overthink it? So I'm going to ask that. Tanya, why do you think we overthink it?
I actually was just talking about this yesterday with Jillian Allen and Becky Kotzer and Kim Koshavar.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is fear. Are we good enough? Are designs good enough? Will people like them? I've let fear inhibit me from getting my digital download site up because it's like, well, people want to come even look at it. And so last night I started the process of getting it done after talking about it for months and months. I think we're really hard on ourselves and we overthink, what are people going to think if we sell these things during this time of crisis? But people still need things even during the time of crisis. I found that we've been donating our time and our laser for the mask cutting for a group. And by doing that, we've ended up getting more business.
Sure.
So it's kind of, people respect that we're doing something good, and it's brought attention to ourselves that, hey, they're doing a good job. Let's come to buy from them, that type of thing.
Right. Well, and I think Mary Carroll just had a really good comment here, and I want to address it. I've seen women get downright hostile in the Facebook groups when others are selling masks. Not everyone can afford to donate. And I think that's a really good point. But the part I wanted to touch on there is women judging women. And I see that happen a lot. And we've kind of touched on this in other versions of this podcast that we've done, but I wonder why we do that to ourselves. What do you think about that, Allie? Got any clues on that one?
I mean, we can go back to sociology, and I keep coming back to kind of the caveman days, but we're pretty harsh on ourselves. We're pretty harsh on each other. We want to be the best. We want to be the prettiest. We want to be, desirable, whatever that is. And I think that crosses over into business as well. And, I have found in particularly your group and some of the other groups I'm in, I gain far more when we are community building each other up. Tanya said we're doing some things in our community, donating and raising funds for small businesses and things that way. And we're getting a much better response from that than the flat out selling. And we're building those relationships. And I think women, not that men don't build relationships, but I think women are more worried about what other women think. And we're also very harsh on ourselves and others. And we're also likely to hold on to things longer. Men generally, I mean,
I'm laughing because you're right.
Both physical and emotional. Men, I'm talking about men, sorry. Men generally, you look at teenage girls and they'll fight and they'll have a grudge and things this way. You look at teenage boys, they'll get in a fist fight, punch each other, and they're best friends 10 minutes later. And I think all of that feeds into the business community and how we communicate and how we sell and how we're perceived and what we think.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There's a good comment here from Crystal Lee Hogue, I think it is. It's public expectation with women. When we are straightforward, we are viewed negatively at times, whereas men are respected. And I think, yeah, that's what I see with a lot of people, women who are selling masks is, and I do the hand thing too, so be prepared, is that they kind of approach it obliquely a little bit instead of going, hey, I made this product and I know you guys need it and here's what I'm selling it for. Or they do, like, I've seen a couple that'll do like fun little games, like the next time next person that comments on this post, you can get this mask for this amount of money or something. So it's almost like you can't straight up go, look, I have these, people need them. If you want them, here's what they cost. And I don't know if that's kind of a way to make it less of a judgeable kind of thing, or what that is. If we're kind of, I know where I'm going with this, I just can't get the word right there. I wonder if it's kind of a soft sell. If we're like, well, I'm selling these, but I'm not really selling them, Right. I'm kind of doing it in a way that I think is going to be acceptable. Mm-hmm. Instead of going, and one of the other things that I wanted to talk about, because I also think it's a good point, and is what's the difference between making a profit and profiteering? Because I think for a lot of people, they feel like if they make any money, they're gaining something from this situation, and it's a crap situation. I think we could all acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that if you can supply something that somebody needs and if you can do it at a fair price, that's not a wrong thing. But I think a lot of people feel that it is. So I guess that's the question, is where do you cross the line?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
So for me, we are selling masks. Just flat out say it. We're selling masks.
Right.
And I approached it this way. How much does it cost me to produce the masks? Labor, materials, all of this. I own a business. I'm running a business. Who are my customers? And then I priced according to that. How many can I make in an hour? What does it cost me to run my shop for that hour and the labor? I had some guilt about donating things that way. But then the flip side of that is, being a business owner, I had the guilt of keeping my employees employed. Well, if I'm not producing something for profit, I'm not paying my employees, and they all have families to support. So to me, profiteering is looking at the market, saying, how much can I get for this? And I'm going to charge the highest price I can possibly
right.
that the market will pay, versus looking at it as, I'm running a business, I have to cover my costs, and I am a for-profit business. So I need to make sure that I'm selling these for enough that I maintain my profit margin, I maintain the health of my business. I think that's selling for profit and good, versus, oh, look, nobody can get masks, I'm going to sell them for $75 a piece because people will buy it. And that's
right.
And I think, to me, that's where I drew the line.
That makes sense to me. And Jillian, I want to ask you this question too, because you said earlier that your business isn't your main source of support right now. So does that make a difference in how you think about it? Or are you still looking at it as, and it shouldn't make a difference, it's still your business, but I'm just wondering if that calculation goes into it at all. Because I know there's a lot of other people out there who are probably in the same situation.
Well, it's mostly, I mean, Avery's home from daycare, so we're saving that money, and I look at it as us making that money. But when I look at it, I think to myself, do I want to go out and volunteer? Do I have the time? Do I have the resources to go out and volunteer? And at this time in my life, the answer is no. I have to provide for my family. So if I'm not going to be out volunteering at some other place, I'm not going to be volunteering at my business just because this happens to be what people want. I'm going to run my business as a business. I think if you stick within your normal profit margins, then you're not profiteering.
Right. And that totally makes sense. And I think that's the way to look at it. And I agree. I've seen a couple of really good comments here. Ramona gave us the definition of profiteer, which I think is funny. gerund or present participle, profiteering, make or seek to make an excessive or unfair profit, especially illegally or in the black market, which obviously none of us are doing. But I mean, you read the stories about, the key words here are excessive or unfair profit versus covering expenses, but still providing a service. And I think that's true. And Aaron also had a really good comment that profit is not a dirty word, but we do need to make a profit so we can give back to not only our employees, but our community. So I guess then the question is, if we know this as business owners, as intelligent adult women, why is there so much angst about it amongst a lot of women who are running businesses? Is it we think we're going to be judged? Is it cultural norms? Is it being scared that people are going to think you're trying to make a buck off a bad situation? What do you guys think? Let's start with you, Jillian. What do you think?
Well, you wrote that article about the bullies that we hear inside our heads. And I think for women, it goes straight back to that. We always hear those bullies. And throughout my business, I've heard them every time I go to price a product. Is my design as good as somebody else's? Is it worth this much?
Okay.
Can I sell it for this much? Are people going to look at this and think, oh, she wants $20 for a t-shirt? Like, I hear those voices and they just need to shut up.
You need to give them all a sleeping pill and put them to bed, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true. We do judge ourselves. So, Tanya, what do you think about that one?
I think fearing being judged by others is a big thing. It's something that I've kind of gotten over, or try to at least. I try to surround myself with people that are supportive rather than I've been in groups that have been just really, really nasty, and I've left those. And I just am a member of a couple of groups that I really, really enjoy and can give back to. But there still are those voices in your head, is this going to be something that people laugh at? If I put a new product up on our page, things of that nature, or are you taking advantage of a situation?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Allie, what do you think?
I'm in the same boat. I think it all comes down to worrying about perceptions and how we're perceived and what will my community think? And if I'm perceived as profiteering or trying to make a quick buck, will that turn future customers away?
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. Well, and I also think, getting back to the cultural thing again, because apparently I'm an anthropologist today or something, I don't know. But anyway, one of the things that I think is interesting, and we've touched on this a little bit already, but I think it's worth a little more examination, is the whole thing of what are men taught about making a profit and what are women taught about making a profit? Because I think that we're taught different things. I know when I was growing up, I was taught that you aren't supposed to show that you're too intelligent and you aren't supposed to really compete. I mean, you can compete, but in a ladylike way, as opposed to in a, I'm really good at this and I want to kick your all's ass kind of way. And, that kind of thing. So there were messages coming through, and the messages were, be a lady and don't really push too hard at this stuff. And I know I didn't have a brother, but I had, male cousins and stuff. And I know what they were being told was different. So that's a question. And Tanya, I know that you have a lot of young men, some of whom are biologically your children and others who are just sons of your heart, I guess. Right. And so I'm going to start with you on this one. Do you think boys and girls, or men and women, are taught different things about what it means to make a profit, and if that's a good or a bad thing?
I think now, like with my kids, we raise them to be, whether you're a girl or a boy, you go out and you do the best you can at everything. Right. For me personally, my career path originally was to be a secretary, because that's what my dad said that a good girl would go do. It'd be a good career for a girl.
I was supposed to be a librarian, so there you go.
Went to school for that and hated it. So I came into graphic design as an adult, and then Jay and I became entrepreneurs. So I came into it late in life and have a husband that's been fully supportive and has pushed me to get out of my shell, because I used to be really, really shy, and nobody believes me on that score anymore.
Well, I think it's awesome that you're here then, if that's something that's amazing.
So I think the younger group, if they're raised right, and not raised to be entitled, that they can do anything they want. We've had foreign exchange students that have been girls and boys, and we've always treated them the same. Go out and do what you want, do the best you can. And if that means you're going to be a business owner, then go do the best you can at that score.
That's awesome. Now, Allie, I wanted to ask you this question too, because I know your daughters are teenagers, correct?
16 and 18, one high school, one
Okay.
college. Yeah.
Okay. So what did you guys teach them when they were growing up?
So I agree with Tanya. I think that it changes from generation to generation. With them, it's go, do, be anything you want. Both of my girls are heavy into sciences. My oldest daughter is studying biology.
Cool.
My youngest daughter doesn't know. She's a sophomore, so she doesn't know yet, but she wants to go into a science. And, traditionally that's been a male-dominated role. Both doing great.
Good.
And pursuing that. So for me personally, go be, do anything you want. I do think there's still some societal roles and things that way. My background actually is as a criminologist before I moved all over the country following a military career. I worked at police departments as a criminologist, and that's a very male-dominated world.
Oh, yeah.
And it was interesting to be young and academic and female, and I really learned to hold my own and way. And it served me well. And then, eventually later on when I'm talking to my husband and things, and he would deploy, and he's like, well, one of the things that I loved about you when we met was how independent you are, and you could just take care of yourself. So I do think with each generation, that's more and more. I think it's certainly that way with my daughters. They're independent of their own mind and things that way. And not to be completely off topic, but last year there was a country song released called For the Daughters. And I don't know if you've heard it, but it's a really interesting commentary on the subject of how girls, don't smudge your mascara, look pretty, don't get dirty, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of settled with me. But I do think it's changing.
Oh, good. And Jillian, this question's coming to you because Avery's what, 2?
Yeah.
So what are you going to teach her?
Hopefully just whatever she wants to learn. I mean, I think one of my biggest things is that anybody can learn anything. Anybody can get better at something. And the biggest thing is whether or not you have an interest in that subject. So, if she wants to learn how to screen print, if she wants to do gymnastics or dance, then that's what we'll teach her. So whatever she wants to do.
Well, I think that's the way it should be, it should be the interest of the child in question, male or female. But I think there's still a lot of, we push kids into gender roles still a little bit. And I think that's a little sad, but I want to also touch on a couple of questions here. Ramona had a good one. Even now, women in the workplace or in business are seen as making pin money, a term that meant extra money not needed for home and family. Money earned by women who just want to keep busy but isn't necessary. It's changing, but it is still a thought out there. And I think that's exactly true. That, there's still this kind of, I've heard it, when I said I was thinking of starting a business, which is still in the planning stages. But anyway, I had older relatives, and I mean, we're talking, quite a bit older, like in their 60s and 70s and 80s. And, they were all like, well, why would you do that? You have a decent job and, you have security and everything. And I'm like, but I'm not doing what I love doing, and I know I could be doing more than I'm doing. So why wouldn't I do it? But there was kind of this, I don't think they would have had the same attitude if one of my male cousins had come in and said, I'm going to start a business. So, I think it's interesting. And I think Allie made a really good point that as the generations go, the attitudes do change some. I mean, I'm 51, so, and I was kind of brought up as in the sit down and look pretty generation, you know? So that, I think that the generation you grew up in maybe impacts a little bit how you think about things, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure how old the rest of you are, but the generation that I grew up in, that was pretty much what I was told. So I'm looking here to see if there's any more comments I want to bring in. Oh, Sheila has a good one, and this is a good question. Do you think it's a different mindset in different parts of the country? I like this question because I'm born and raised in Michigan, Midwest. I was always taught, and I grew up in a fairly cosmopolitan city because we were the world headquarters for Dow Chemicals. So we had a lot of really educated scientists and people coming in from all over the world. So we met a lot of people. So there was a very high expectation of achievement. But even when I was growing up, you didn't see a lot of female scientists. All the women were the wives of the men for the most part. And they didn't bring like female scientists to school and go, hey, girls, you could come and do this, you know? So I think that's a good question. So I'm Midwest. I don't know where the rest of you grew up, but do you think there's a different maybe on the West Coast or the East Coast? I don't know. I'm just going to throw this one out to the group because I don't want to spotlight anybody in case you don't have I don't know. Well, Allie, you've been all over the place, so I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit since you were a military wife, so you probably moved quite a bit.
We did. So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Washington State. But okay, see if I can do this. We went from Washington to Illinois to California to Maryland to Rhode Island, back to Washington, and then back to Maryland.
Oh, wow.
So I can't say that I noticed a huge difference in region of how women did, but I'll throw the caveat in. I see a difference in how women are treated by socioeconomics. And
oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's I guess what I'll throw out. I haven't perceived for myself being treated differently. I've never lived in the South. I've never lived further north than Rhode Island on the East Coast.
Right.
So I don't perceive it regionally. I perceive it socioeconomically.
Well, that's interesting because I can see where that would come into play. Now, is it the higher you go on the scale, the roles are more rigid, or the lower your income is, the roles are more rigid?
I think I'm not going to make it linear. I think there's a sweet spot in the middle.
Okay.
Or a lot of families where both the husband and wife work, and I perceive, this is purely my perception,
sure,
more equality. I think on the higher end, you have more choice, and a lot of women choose to stay home. I'm choosing my words so carefully. A lot of women choose to stay home with their kids. Right. And I'm not making judgment on that. I stayed home for a long time with my kids before starting my business. And so there's a different perception there. Certainly, if you are not working and you are home caring for the children, and we come into a crisis like this, that continues to be your role. It's not a change, sure, but it continues to be your role.
Sure.
And then in the United States, education levels and things this way typically also dictate your income to a certain extent. And I think that depends on if you can afford childcare outside the home and things that way, and whether you're home caring for children. And just traditionally, it's generally the female that stays home to care for children.
One of the things that I want to just focus on here, because I thought it was interesting, because every time we come to this subject, there's always a disclaimer. And the disclaimer is anytime we start talking about, well, women who stay home and take care of their kids and they don't have a business and they don't have, and then it's always like the immediate disclaimer is, but I'm not making any judgment on that. It's okay if you, I wonder, and I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons. And one is because there was a time, like when I grew up, my mother worked from the time I was very, very small. She started out in a place and she worked her way up. She ended up running it by the time she was done, but she always worked. And that was very, very, I was born in 69. I grew up in the 70s. That was more rare. And there was a lot of judgment about the fact that she wasn't home and we had a babysitter in the morning that would get us ready to go to school and things. And now I look at it and the judgment's almost gone the other way. So that if you stay home now, everybody's like, well, I'm not making any judgment about that. And I'm like, why? Okay, here's a question. And this has nothing to do with our topic, but it's a good question. So I want to talk about it. Why do we do that to ourselves? Why?
For me, it comes back to the beginning of the conversation of we are all fearful of being judged. And I think we've become very aware of that. And so we also don't want to place judgment. For me personally, I've done both. I have stayed home and raised my children, and I've owned a business and I have worked. And I like to say, I don't think one's harder or easier. They're different. And
right.
Part of the reason I started my business is because I was losing my mind staying home. I love my girls. I love taking care of them. I love spending time with them, but I needed adult interactions as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed analytical problem solving for me personally, for my brain.
Right.
And so I truly don't make the judgment. They're both difficult positions to be in. Life is difficult, and it's just a matter of juggling it. But I think when we start taking generalizations and getting very specific about them, then people perceive we're judging and or we're afraid of being judged.
I think that's true. And I just think it's interesting because you don't see, and again, huge generalization. I'm saying that right up front, but you don't see men doing this thing, at least not that I've seen. I mean, I have male friends, obviously I have male relatives, not married, but, you don't see them do that same thing. Guys seem to be more, do your own thing, bro, good for you. And women are, I don't have kids. I've never wanted kids. I've never had any desire. The amount of women who have made a judgment about the fact that I don't want children and have never had any aspirations to be a mom at all. I mean, I like kids, but see, I feel like I have to say that. I like kids. It's not that I think they should be like, put in a pen somewhere or something, but it's just never been my particular, for a lot of reasons. But anyway, but the amount of women who feel like they have the right to tell me that, oh, you'll meet the right man. I mean, not anymore, but when I was younger, you'll meet the right man and that'll change everything. I'm like, no, I really won't. But it's a phenomenon that I really would like to figure out. And I understand that in the time we have left, we're not going to do that, but it's an interesting question. Why as women do we think that we should judge other people, or why do we feel almost compelled to say there's a good way and a bad way to live your life? It's everybody's different. I don't understand it. So I know you're all looking at me like, oh crap, you're trying to solve all the problems of the universe in like 5 minutes. What's your problem, woman? But it's because I feel like this question. Oh, and Carolyn just made a really good comment here that I like too. I think women think they are being judged. I believe it is a monster in her own head and nothing to do with others. And as Jillian was talking about earlier, the post I wrote about the bullies in our heads, I think that's absolutely true as well. But I don't know. I've seen some judgy women out there. I mean, so Goodness, now I've gotten us into sand trap. But it's such an interesting question. And I guess it also comes back to a question that was on my list. Is part of the reason that women don't sell because either they think they're going to be judged and it's in their own head, or they really are going to be judged. And I'll throw that one out to you first, Jillian. Do you think that there's a fear of being judged, and is that an accurate fear?
I don't think it's accurate. I think because we are so much in our own heads, we have an opportunity to be really good at marketing because we think these things through really well. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to kind of use some of those maybe weaknesses or whatever you want to call them and use them to our benefit.
Okay. Totally makes sense.
You know, when you start talking about whether women or men sell, I think about back when I was in corporate America, and you'd look at a sales floor and it was, you know, just a team of men salesmen, and there was usually one woman, and she'd be at the top, she'd be at the top of the team, but it'd only be one woman, but she'd be really good at what she was doing. So, I mean, I think we have the opportunity to be really good at selling. It's just a matter of, you know, getting out there and doing it.
So we need to get out of our own way, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Tanya, what do you think?
I think it's a matter of growth as well. If you would have looked at me even a year ago, 2 years ago, I didn't want to sell anything. I was very content to be doing the creative and the production, and I left the sales up to Jay and our employees. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I'm kind of introverted by nature, and putting myself out there has been a learned characteristic. And as I've grown and have had more life experiences, I'm trying to put the judgy people away and just not care and give myself some grace and give other people grace too. You know, if they're being judgy, maybe look at what's going on in their life. I try to take a more philosophical approach to life now and not try to judge them back. Or maybe they're not judging me, and again, it's in my own head, because I do have those times when I get very afraid and have to take a deep breath and refocus myself. And
Good point.
Get out of your own way, Tanya. Let's
what we have to do. And I want to cover a couple comments here, and then I want to ask Allie the same question. But Aaron said, that is so well said, Jillian. Marketing is so much about empathy, which I think is a really good point. So I wanted to get that in. And Sheila said, we need to stop worrying about what others think / do, focus on what we think or do, which I think is also true. And Aaron is just being our little cheerleader today. He said, Tanya, it's been so awesome to watch you continue to do amazing things. So
thank you, Aaron.
Out there too. But Allie, back to our question. Are we judging ourselves, or are others judging us, or is it a combo platter?
I think it's a combo platter, but I also think I'm much more harsh on myself than others are. I think people give me more grace than I give myself. And so, yeah, I'm probably my own worst enemy.
Okay, I think that's, well, and I'm right there with you in that boat. I judge myself much, much more harshly than probably anybody else ever will. So, and that's, there's so many things that it's like, you know, I don't want to be one of those people that says, oh, it's so hard to be a woman.
Right.
You know, because that's not where we are. And I mean, you know, but I think we are our own worst enemy sometimes in terms of what we do to ourselves in the name of trying to do what we think is acceptable to the world at large. So, though Carolyn just made a really good point here. She says, doubt is a human trait. I do not think personally it is gender specific. I believe it is a learned behavior from the core base of upbringing. So that's a good point too, that, you know, everybody has doubts. Maybe women just express theirs more than men do. Is that possible? That guys are kind of taught to be strong and silent and not talk about their, I wonder if they have maybe there should be a men in garment decoration group where they could go talk about things. I don't know.
Yeah. I'd agree with Tanya too, though. I mean, as your life experiences, and I'm sorry, was it Carolyn that just commented?
Yeah.
It's your upbringing and it's your life experiences. I posted something in a Facebook group yesterday, and I used kind of a cliche, and somebody replied that one of their tasks was to stop following or listening to people who use that phrase. And I took it personally, and then I went, whatever, and I replied, I'm like, okay, I'll miss you, and moved on. Like, so what? If you're going to judge me by a phrase I use on Facebook, then it's just not worth it. So after a while, I think you develop a thick skin.
I think so. And I just saw a comment here that kind of made me laugh. James Nitro says, do I need to leave? And I'm going to say, no, James, you don't, because women's issues are people issues, and you're people, so you can stay. But I think go ahead.
I truly don't think that it's men versus women. I think that women tend to internalize it more, and then I get to the point where I'm just going to blow.
Yeah.
And then I will admit that Jay he's like, you have the sky is falling mentality right now. Take a breath. And so I found ways to deal with that. I come to the Women in Garment Decorating group and voice my opinion. Or say I'm struggling today. Or I try to help someone else that is posting that they're struggling today. That's how I found a healthy outlet to deal with that. Sometimes men and women just deal with things so differently.
I think that's true. Todd Downing had a little comment here. He said, let's just say if you're going to judge me, then poof, be gone. And I think that's what Allie said that about the person who was like, well, if you use this cliche, and she was like, yeah, okay, well, it was nice having you.
Bye-bye.
But I think we tend to take that to heart too much. We said something, and I'm like, and not everybody, and I just wrote about this yesterday, which makes me laugh. I need to take my own advice. Not everybody is going to like you.
Right.
Not everybody is going to think what you're doing is awesome and amazing. And some of them are going to tell you that because some people are jerks. I don't know. Oh man. It makes me sad sometimes because I feel like we get in our own ways a lot. Our own way, our own ways, our own path. I don't know. I'm trying to talk and it's not working. But anyway, oh, wow. And James says his wife is a nurse, so it's been real lately. Well, tell her thank you for everything she's doing. Thank you to all the people who are out there.
Absolutely.
The medical personnel and everybody who's keeping things moving right now. I mean, I can't imagine being a medical professional right now. Oh,
Yeah.
So hard. Well, we're already in bonus time a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do so that we don't go into too much bonus time is just ask you guys, is there any kind of last thought that you would like to leave with the people watching? What would you like them to remember from what we talked about? And Jillian, you're underneath me. I'm going to hit you first.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I think just as women, as long as you're providing value with what you're giving people, when we talk about this whole subject, I've been doing a lot of senior stuff for the seniors that skipped or had their graduation skipped. And there's a lot of people handing me money for products and thanking me for making them. So, don't be afraid to get out there and sell. There's value that you can give people by selling things. And if you can add that value, don't be ashamed about making a living off of it.
That's awesome, Jillian. I love it. Okay, Tanya?
I totally agree with Jillian. And then another point is reach out to others. We've made sales that way, but also support your fellow people around you. Check in with them. This is a really crazy time. People have a lot of anxiety. We've tried putting out some fun things that that can be purchased to send in cards, to encourage other people to reach out for one another. That's been well received. Having things for the seniors, thank you gifts for the medical professionals, and give each other some grace during this time and all the time.
Good point. Okay, Allie, what you got?
Not a lot more. I've talked too much. No, I think I agree. I think one of the things that I think as a society we're realizing is just how fast-paced and what a hustle and bustle we've been in for so long. And this has made everybody kind of stop and take stock and think about it. And I've talked to a lot of friends, gender neutral, gender aside, male and female, saying, wow, this has actually been kind of nice to make me slow down and recognize just how chaotic life had gotten. And I think we're going to emerge from this different. And
I hope so.
Yeah. And I don't think, of course, there are always rules that are going to apply, but I think that this is going to be like other pivotal times in our history. It's going to change the way we do business. It's going to change the way we function as a society. And I don't think in a bad way.
I hope you're right, because that's the one thing that I really feel I would like to see happen out of all of this, is that we learn from it and we get better because of it. Because and a lot of people keep talking about, oh, I wanted to go back to normal. I wanted to go back to normal. And I'm like, I do too, but I'd like it to be a better normal than the old normal, if that makes any sense. So, and I don't know if Aaron is still listening, but Aaron, if you want, oh, there, he's coming back now. There he is.
I am still. Are you kidding me? I've been listening. This has been amazing. So the one thing that I dislike about doing a podcast is that, there's not an opportunity to give these wonderful guests a standing ovation. So it's just, you guys are fantastic. I know all the regulators out there listening in. Thanks to everybody. So before I let you guys go, can I ask one more thing of each of you? To just tell people where they can connect with you, what you can do. Allie, let's go ahead and start with you. How can people get in touch with you, connect with you?
Sure. So certainly on Facebook, we are Wear Your Spirit Warehouse on Facebook. I am Alison at mosdinc.com. For email, Alison has one L, Alison. Reach out, email. I love developing relationships. So
wonderful. Yes. Yeah. You're amazing at that. I've looked up to you for a long time, Alison. So thank you so much for everything that you do. Jillian, how about you?
Probably the best way to get in contact with me is Jillian Inc. on Facebook or JillianInc.com. JillianInc@outlook.com is my email. So
cool. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better as well. Thank you so much for being here today. And Tanya?
The best place is probably Facebook, the Visual Identity Vault. And then you can get messages there. And I think all of our contact information is there too, because my email is a bunch of letters. So
my email is a bunch of letters.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Tanya. And thanks to all of them. I'm going to let you guys go. Kristine, I'm keeping you for 1 second, if you don't mind.
Okay. That's fine.
All right, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. You were awesome.
All right. So Kristine, I'm keeping you for one more second, because in your bio there, we got to talk about some cool things and some of the new things that you're doing. So before I let you go, I'd like you to tell people a little bit more about those things. And while you're doing that, I'm going to actually see if I can get some of these links into the comments section. But start us off with the, let's see here. Which one was the first one? Readingandrant.com. What's that all about?
Reading and Ranting is, I wanted to do a blog about reading and writing, because I love both those things. And I've been a reader since I taught myself to read when I was 3.5 or 4.
Wow.
I have always read voraciously and way above my grade level, which got interesting when I started going to the adult section of the library. And I've always wanted a place where I can talk about that stuff. Different kinds of literature, how you write stuff, book reviews, anything that has anything. And the ranting part of it is just sometimes I need a place to go this is really annoying me and I want to talk about it. Because I can't come on the podcast every week and go, so, and then the podcast that goes with it is basically going to be talking about all those subjects. It's going to be, sometimes guests, sometimes not, depending. I'd like to get, your other two regular guys, Terry, on there when his new book comes out, because I'd like to talk to him about writing. I think that would be fun.
Cool.
But that's what that is really, is just, I have this love of books and literature and writing, and I do all those things, and I wanted a place to be able to talk about those things.
Excellent. Okay.
That's that one.
Perfect. And then Todd says you're also a
horror author. Yeah, because I'm killing everybody with garment decoration products.
Yes, that's a long story for another show. So we'll
yes, it is.
Indeed. All right. So When I'm Thin would be the next one that I saw in the bio there.
When I'm Thin started several years ago, and it's kind of languished, and I brought it back because it's still a topic that I think especially affects women. And it's a lot of what I talk about is, some of it is my history, because I have lost 50 pounds. I was not a dedicated exerciser at all. I had some health issues, and that got me into it. So we started talking about that. But a lot of what I want to talk about too is also body image and what it's like to be a larger woman in the world, and how that impacts how you think about yourself. And I mean, I've said this before and people go, oh yeah, right. But if you had told me, maybe not 5 years ago, but if you had told me 10 years ago that I would be on video right now talking to you and be comfortable with it and actually enjoy it, I would have laughed so hard I probably would have thrown up. Because it just wasn't something that I could ever imagine doing. And now I'm like, okay, I'm good. Yeah. But so that's kind of the topic of that one is how to get healthier and how to help women feel better about, and how society puts a lot on women too. And not that they don't on men, because I know they do on men, but I think for women, it's maybe a little more acute sometimes.
Sure.
So.
Okay, cool. Well, great stuff. And then the Business Plus Women podcast coming soon as well.
Yeah, that's actually business and women, but I didn't like the ampersand, so it's a plus.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, business and women. Got it.
That one actually, that's going to be a podcast and probably eventually a website of some kind.
Okay.
But the reason that came about is I'm mulling over possibly starting my own business of some kind. Okay. And I started thinking about women that I wanted to talk to. And as I was thinking about it, I thought, you know what? I bet you there's a lot of other women that could benefit from these conversations.
Yeah.
So now it's a podcast.
There you go. Why not? Yeah. Podcast. Yeah. Cool. It's so awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Kristine. We really appreciate you being here and doing this and hosting this. And I think we're set for June for the next one, if I remember correctly.
I think it's May, but I'll have to check.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I definitely
might be June. I don't know. But yeah, there's another one coming up fairly soon.
Cool. Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all your time today and everything that you do for the Two Regular Guys podcast and the Women in Garment Decorating Group. That is so cool that you guys have that resource.
And if you aren't a member of the Women in Garment Decorating Group, you definitely should be if you're female.
Yes, exactly.
It's worth it.
Yeah, and we'll get a link into the comments for those.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, perfect. In fact, our intrepid supporter Eric is working on that. He's been amazing. All right, Kristine, thank you again, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you. It was fun.
Good. Yes, it was. Awesome. Wow, guys, way into bonus time, but that's what we want. That's what we want in these kinds of, I don't think they even got to half of the questions that they wanted to get to today. So we've got lots of great information coming from them. Hopefully everybody was able to take that. And they said several times too, this isn't a woman's issue. This is a people issue in a lot of cases, so the learning that I was able to do in that time, and I know seeing the feedback from folks here that learning they were able to do in that time has been fantastic too. So thanks to all of them. Let me hit a couple of quick other events coming up here. I want to make sure that people know what's happening in the Two Regular Guys world here. Eric, who's been working hard in the comments for us here today, he did a wonderful webinar called Demystifying Next Level Digitizing, and that is actually recorded and preserved if you'd like to still check that out. It's one of his most popular classes from the trade show floor. Better running, bolder, and more beautiful embroidery with faster cycle from concept to completion. So if you want to check that out, you can do so over at bit.ly/EricDD, and that's ERICHDD. So check that out. He also will be presenting a virtual seminar actually this Saturday through the DAX program that we've talked about. So if you visit daxshows.com and go to Treasure Island and seminars, you can sign up for both the live seminars happening in Treasure Island when that happens in May, hopefully at the end of May, but also these virtual classes. So Eric will be teaching about specialty threads and debating digitizing. So make sure to check that all out. And then definitely want you guys to go over and check out his new live program. Wonderful opportunity to learn from Eric and the wealth of information and knowledge. So at 2:30 Mountain Time, he does the Take Up. Today, he'll be talking about patches and digitizing specific tips for patches. So you can check that out over at facebook.com/embroideryeric. And remember, Eric has an H on the end of it. I won't tease you, Eric, like Terry does. So we'll just leave it at that. And speaking of Terry, his scheduling and estimating production time for screen printers is beginning on May 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and every Tuesday through May thereafter. So a 4-week session. So if you'd like to learn more about that and get signed up and reserve your spot for that, just head over to decorators.education/SEPT. And no, that does not stand for September. That stands for scheduling and estimating production time. So that's going to be a great program, really affordable to get involved with that. And so if you're a screen printer and want to learn how to sleep at night because you're not juggling your production schedule, you're actually in control of your production schedule, Terry's going to teach you how to do that, give you the tools to do that. He has run shops from large to small. So really looking forward to that program. On Saturday, May 23rd, up in Minnesota, he's going to be presenting on being a great screen printer, and he just did that virtually actually a couple of days ago, so you can check that out also over at DAX Shows. He does also have some upcoming screen printing classes happening. His complete screen printing business course happening at Workhorse Products in Phoenix, June 6th through the 7th, and at Atlas Screen Supply in Chicago, June 27th through the 28th. And you can find all of his upcoming classes, events, etc. over at terrycombs.com under the tab Tour Dates. And he is trying to keep that up to date as things change here. Terry's big book of travel is no longer full, so he's been at home and able to keep up with that. So that's going on for Terry. And then for myself, just real quickly, our Success Group, my company that I've started with Todd Downing, we are going to be presenting a set of 5 keys to success. And this next upcoming 5 keys starts on April 29th. It's called Success Keys for Planning for Business Success. You can sign up to become a member of our Success Group. And by the way, special announcement we'll be making hopefully sometime today here that our introductory offers on the memberships are going to be extended until the last shelter-in-place order is lifted. So, but we're working on details of that and hope to have some information out about that here today. Anyways, you can sign up to become a member, or you can just participate in the 5 Keys program. The 5-week training course consists of live video training, access to come back and review the training for life, templates and tools to push you forward with a good business plan, missions or homework, whatever you want to call it. These are tools that we use to help keep people accountable, and then plus support from myself and Todd and the entire OSG community, which is a building, growing community that we're really proud of. And so if you want to check that out, just go over to oursuccessgroup.com/5keys, the number 5 keys. And again, that series starts on April 29th. And then last bit for me, and this is something I'm really excited about. My wife and I are going to be presenting a seminar together. This is her first time, so she's both excited and nervous. This is definitely not an area that she enjoys as much as I do, but she's started a business called WeHeart.biz. And so we want to talk about starting in e-commerce, what worked and what didn't, hopefully really share some of the mistakes that we've made getting her business started. And, she's really been integral in that business. I'm kind of behind the scenes saying, you try this, you try this. And so we've learned a lot along the way. And so we're going to be presenting that at the DAX show in Minnesota and in Chicago when those things happen. But we're going to be doing it virtually on April 20th at 2 p.m. So again, go to daxshow.com to get signed up for that. I'm really, really excited to show her off to the world. She is so amazing and doesn't realize it all the time. So I think she fights a lot of the same demons that were talked about today. And so I'm so proud of her for doing all that. And I think that is about it. Gosh, we're 20 minutes into bonus time. Well worth every second of it. And so thanks very much to everyone. We want to thank Kristine and Allie and Tanya and Jillian, and also our show producer, Eric Campbell, who's been working very hard in the comments side, and also our sponsor, Impressions Expo. They make it so we can bring this to you every week. Next week, Terry and I will be kind of finishing our discussion that we started last week about what the landscape's going to look like in a post-pandemic decorating community. In fact, it was touched on a little bit today. What's the new normal going to be? And so we're going to try to prognosticate and come up with some things. Really what we're looking forward to is you guys, the regulators, tuning in, sharing your ideas and thoughts. And, like I said, we want it to go back to normal, but like Kristine had mentioned, we want the new normal to be better. And we're already seeing that happen in a lot of ways. And so, what does that new normal look like for everybody, and how do we deal with that? So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. But until then, for Terry Combs and myself, Aaron Montgomery, we are the Two Regular Guys. Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.